has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back for Coast to Coast, hour number 2 here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. And as we always like to tell you, if you don't have the new SportsGrid app by now, I really don't know what you're waiting for. It's available at both the iOS and the Play Store. It's everything you could ever possibly want in an app. You can track scores and live odds. You can stay up to speed on all the latest content from your favorite host. You can watch or listen live anytime, anywhere on the app. So you can watch SportsGrid on the app. You can listen to SportsGrid Radio on the app at any time, including maybe even Carver and Lisi, weeknights at 8 p.m. East. You could do that as well if you so oblige. So go out and take care of business and get the app. It's available both iOS and Play stores. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Go to sportsgrid.com/watch to see all the platforms that you can find us on. All right, Cam, you are normally with me every Wednesday in this hour to do the golf picks for this week's PGA Tour event, which I like this part of the year, Cam. You know, look, we love every week that there's golf. Okay, me and Cam are involved, as you know, watching us every week. The time they started the Century, the first week in January, all the way through, they shut the door at the Tour Championship in late August, and we're even sprinkling in those fall events as well. So we're always in. But when they start the Florida swing, Cam, and they start to hit this, and you work your way up to the Palmer, to the Players, you know the Masters is around the corner. You know, they'll stop at Copperhead there with the Valspar. You know, there's so many great tournaments that are on the horizon. I love when we start from this point after we kind of get done with the West Coast stuff.
Couldn't agree more. I'm going to be honest with you. The Florida swing is the best golf you'll see. This West Coast stuff where guys are going like minus 28. Like, I know there's a couple really nice tournaments, but I love this stretch because when the winds pick up, Carver, there's water in these tournaments now. Great for live betting, everybody. I've seen guys with 8-shot leads, absolutely triple, quad, water, trees. It's over. That wind starts picking up on these par threes and stuff, man, it gets stupid. That's my tip for everybody. You got a guy with a lead, you better be paying attention. Don't go out with the family on Sunday. You got to have at least an app to know what's going on because things change quick in these tournaments.
They certainly do, and we'll do the full breakdown with this Cognizant in the next segment. But you're right. I mean, we had 2 years ago. I mean, what if Berger had like a 5 or a 6-shot lead going into the final round? He completely evaporated. The Irish Bear then had it in the bag on 17, and the weather came and destroyed him. And Sepp Straka, who basically sat in the clubhouse for 3 hours, ended up winning that tournament. We welcome in all of our radio affiliates for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, Sports Byline. Great to have everyone with us. Before we do get to that, Cam, there was a couple other things in golf that since I had you for a little bit longer today, I wanted to get your thoughts on. Masters is around the corner, as we said. The field is taking shape. We know the deal. The best golfers in the world are going to be there, but a lot of live guys are not going to be there, and they are starting to bellyache about those things, which, you know, kind of understandably so, because seriously, Cam, if you now look at the field for the live tournament this weekend in Saudi Arabia, you know, you look at the field that they're bringing out, and whether you like the format or not with the 3 rounds and the shotgun and the team, but from golfer 1 to 49 or however many they're bringing out there now, you can make a case it's a better field some weeks. You know, when you have Brooks and you have Dustin, and you have John Rahm and you have Tyrrell Hatton and you have all these guys now. So I can understand where Taylor Gooch, who won a lot last year, he was excellent on live, won their individual title, won a whole bunch of tournaments. I could see why he's the loudest guy. I mean, he's always the loudest guy because that's Taylor Gooch. He likes to make himself heard. But he might have went a little too far with the asterisk stuff with Rory winning the Grand Slam. That might have been a little too far, Cam, when he pushed with that.
I'll tell you something. These guys in the green jackets at Augusta, hello, Mr. Gooch, would you like to go over here? And you'll be changing in the toilet. Honest to God, you don't mess with the Masters. I was there, and I saw a drunk guy roll down a hill. He didn't get banned for life. His family and future relatives got banned for life. They don't screw around. They don't like bad press. And Taylor Gooch, shut up. Asterisk? Are you an idiot? No, like honestly, an idiot. Like to say an asterisk. I'm with you, Carver. Things have gotten a little bit better, but this is the whole thing. Why didn't everyone just go to live then? You know, if we're going to forgive everybody and, you can come back, open arms, like what's the detriment then? What was the detriment to even going to this? Make more money and do whatever the hell you want. Anyway, Gooch should shut up. That's what he needs to do. He is a good player. He should be playing in this tournament, but asterisks, give your head a shake.
Yeah, look, and Gooch, he lost in the playoff last year at the Saudi Arabia tournament to Brooks Koepka. Gooch is 24-1, by the way, for it. I did want to give you. I mean, I'm happy, Cam, because they turned Live on in New York, so now I'm really in on the Live because I can play it.
Yeah, there you go. You can bet on
New York
it. See?
Now, so,
yes.
I mean, I'm not playing John Rahm at 6-1 this weekend, but I mean, there's plenty of other guys that definitely look interesting to me. Here's the Rory response. This is from this morning, Cam. This is Rory when he was asked about Taylor Gooch's comments. Now, there's an interesting thing here that kind of goes with what Rory's been doing the last 2 months. And he has sounded more pro-Live than ever since Rahm went over there. And it even sounds like it with this, talking about Gooch.
Look, the Masters is an invitational, and they'll invite whoever they think, warrants an invite. And, I mean, I think, to be fair to Taylor, I think if you read the entire, the question and then the answer, it's not as if he just came out with that. I feel like whoever did the interview sort of led him down that path to say that. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt there a little bit. He basically just agreed with what the interviewer asked. But at the same time, Joaquin Niemann got an invite, and I played with Joaquin in Dubai a few weeks ago. And he went down to Australia and won. He was in Oman last week. He's been chasing his tail around the world to try to get this, either play his way into Augusta or show enough form to warrant an invite. And I don't know if the same can be said for Taylor.
And he's right about that. But Rory was the first guy, Cam, for the last 2 years who was so willing to smash these guys at every single mic that got in front of him. And now he's like, well, the reporter kind of led him there. But he's right on this other point. Niemann traveled the world, played the DP events, played the Asian Tour events. He's trying to win wherever he can besides Live, so he could say, look, I belong here. Taylor Gooch has done none of that. I get he's won a bunch of Live tournaments, Cam, but that's still part of, you're paying the piper for what you did. You got your $50 million, $75 million. You're paying the piper for that now.
Yeah, great call on Niemann. This guy's a world-class player, and I'll tell you, it sounds like Rory wants to have some friends back that he threw under the bus when they went all over the Live. This guy's really changed his tune, Carver. This is unbelievable. Like, what a turn face. Like, it's so different. Like, he was going nuts before. Now, hey, let's all be friends. Okay, Rory, what is it? Tell me.
We'll come back, Cam. Our weekly, as usual, 4:12 p.m. East look at the Cognizant outrights, top 10s, 20s, 40s, the first round leader bombs. We get you ready for this weekend in South Florida next, coast to coast.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Cam Stewart in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Of course, every Wednesday, we get you ready for this weekend's PGA Tour event. Cam is always with me in this time spot. Today's with me all day, which is awesome. We have the Cognizant Classic, formerly the Honda Classic, down at PGA National, Palm Beach, Florida. You can actually see Haro's guest house off of one of the tee boxes on the back nine. I told him last night on the radio that next year he's going to let me stay in the guest house so I can go to the tournament over the weekend. So there's a lot of guys, Cam. Here's the one thing about this place. You said it in the last segment. Lots of comebacks because the wind gets crazy. There's 15 holes on this course that have some kind of water involved in them. They converted one of the par 4s to a par 5, so it's a 71 now. We've had crazy finishes the last few years. Last year, crazy playoff between Chris Kirk and Eric Cole. Year before that, what I was telling you before with the Irish Bear and Sepp Straka and Berger melting. So this has been a fun tournament. And as we look at the chalk for this week, Cam, we actually have something that we haven't had the last few years. You know, think of those names I've been throwing at you. The big players have been skipping this tournament because it's been the start of the Florida swing and there's so many big tournaments the next few weeks. But Rory changing the schedule this year, wanted to play more golf heading into the Masters. He is here, and he's another guy who lives right around this place. Him, JT, Ricky Fowler, Berger, all these guys all live around this joint. He's 7-1, now up to 8 actually here, Cam. Then you get a big gap. Cameron Forever Young, Russell Henley, Eric Cole, Ben Ann is here this week, Tom Kim. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I was surprised to see very far down the board, which is why when I get to my outrights, he's going to make it. But I actually think one of the best fields, Cam, they've had in this event in the past few years.
Do you notice something, Carver, too? A lot of the big boys are scared of this tournament. I've seen guys take numbers. Like, if you don't have your A game here, don't kid yourself. Like, and a lot of the California guys are not here. Take a look.
Nope.
Like Eric Cole, like all these guys, like JT
No.
Poston, Western Carolina, Russell Henley, Georgia. All these guys on the board. Fitzpatrick, win players.
The Homers and
Yep.
the Morikawas and the Cantlays and the Schauffele's
They're-
all staying
dude.
home from this one. They
They're
don't want to deal
afraid.
with this place.
That's it. Yeah, you're California cool. We're East Coast grinding. That's what we are. You need ball flight. You need every shot in your bag. You need to be hot. It's one of these weird things. It's a ball striker's paradise. That's what it is. And you can absolutely lose your mind. I watched Ian Poulter had a lead in this tournament. I think he took like a 12 on a par 4, Carver. Like, he lost his mind. And that's the thing about this tournament. It can absolutely drive you nuts. If you don't have your A game, this course will kill you. It'll eat you.
It certainly will. Here is where I am going, Cam, for this week. Now, Eric Cole lost in the playoff last year.
Yep.
He's a Florida guy. He's played this course 1 billion times in his life. 30-1, I got him here. The Postman has been delivering. JT Poston, I feel another win coming his way. 33-1. Fitzpatrick's just priced for me, Cam. I mean, he was 35-1 Monday morning early when they put these numbers up. And for this field, I feel like he should be the second or third guy on this board, and him dropped all the way down to 35. That's just an auto play for me. Minwoo Lee, I know it's form, but you get him back on the East Coast too, and you play in some conditions that are like his home, and suddenly he's going to turn some things around. I like Minwoo Lee at 35-1 this week. Irish Bear dropped. He was 35-1 on Monday. He's 50-1 this morning, so we went in for a little bit more. He has a great history here, and Ricky Fowler, who hasn't been great, picked it up a little bit at the waist. I'm just going here, Cam, that he knows this place so well that maybe he could give us a little bit of a moment at 80-1 for Ricky.
Ricky plays pretty good in the Florida swing, too. This is one guy who's like a California kid that likes Florida golf, so I like the pick. I love Lowry at 50. You said it. Like, I've seen 35, 40. You get Lowry at 50. He's a must-play at that price. Let's go, Carver. We have a couple of the same guys, and by the way, I love JT Poston, too. I think I'm going to add him to my pack. We're going to start with Eric Cole as well. I think Eric Cole, this guy should have beat Chris Kirk in that playoff, man. When Kirk hit it off the Honda and Cole just kind of lost his mind because he was going to win his first event, this is the perfect thing for him. But Russell Henley, a Georgia Bulldog, SEC players, Florida players, watch out for Henley, Carver. He has the perfect game for this type of track if the putter's going. I'm with Lowry. Got to get a better number if I can find a bigger number. Daniel Berger, Florida State. We've talked about this. All these guys from the area, from the state. Berger is coming off injury, but he's trending upwards every week. Sepp Straka, do we have a theme here? Georgia Bulldog, 50-1. And you had him last week, Carver. He let you down, but Brendan Wu did very, very well at this event. A couple top 20s and stuff. At 90-1, I'm going to take a crack. I think that's a good price.
He was 2 birdies away on that back 9 in Mexico from cashing me that top 10 at least, which would have been a nice plus 350, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do it. And look, we know I'm not playing Rory at 7-1, Cam, but I was messing around on a radio show with Joe on Monday night, and I parlayed Rory to win with a bunch of stuff in the NBA, like it was Cunningham, DiVincenzo, Siakam, all of it hit. So I now actually have a parlayed up Rory ticket at 17-1. So I have a little piece of Rory coming in this weekend.
You and Morency got to do shows together. You guys do the exact same things. Like, I got Vancouver Canucks to win the division with Dodgers. Like, he puts these parlays together. I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
I got a nice Rory ticket for this weekend if he can hang around and have his head on straight. I like him for a top 10 at plus 105. I'm going to take Eric Cole back. I'm up with a top 10 at 3-1. Burger time, I'm with you, Cam, but I'm going to go top 20 at plus 190. Captain Kirk won here a year ago. He loves this track, too. Top 20 for me at plus 200. Billy Horschel loves the Florida swing. Top 40 at plus 115. And Paddy Harrington is in the field this week, Cam. Top 40 at 3-1. Always plays well here.
Carver, I might bet Harrington at 300-1. Do you understand what he's doing on the senior tour? He's the biggest hitter on tour. It's not like he's short by any stretch, and he has done great in this event. He beat Daniel Berger years ago in this tournament. I think it was about 8 years ago. I remember the playoff because I was on Berger at 90-1, and Harrington beat him. Watch out for old man Patty. Here's the deal. We love each other's picks, and I'm going to be riding the same things. Top 20, I'm betting like 8 to 10 guys. Fitzpatrick, top 20, plus 140. Corey Connors. Here's the thing. Corey Connors, he has the iron play. Can he putt? Plus 180. Jagerbomb. This guy's good everywhere. He's just like my new Eric Cole. Plus 190. Svensson. Canadians do well here. Why? Wind. They play a lot of conditions like the Florida course. Plus 210. Hizatani is my guy at top 40, plus 115, and Matt Wallace. He gagged last week on Sunday, but I like him plus 120. Love your Harrington pick, Carver.
He certainly did. Let's do the first round leader bombs here. I have Svensson in this. You have him there on the placements. I'm going to use Svensson at 55-1. Sepp Straka loves this place, and he starts fast, 55-1 for me. Chris Kirk as well with 60-1. Davis Thompson has been decent, 71 as a Thursday Warrior. Justin Suh at 90. How about Justin Lauer last week, Cam? He played very well and was in the mix on Sunday, 100-1. And CT Pots and Pans, who had a huge Sunday to get himself into the top 10, he's 100-1. Let's roll some of that nice magic from Sunday into this one.
Carver, I love your first round picks. By the way, if you take away CT Pan's early round, the guy could have won the tournament. Like like, you know what I mean? Like, he went bananas. Like, that's the thing about this guy. He's a very good golfer, and he's not priced accordingly. Justin Lauer going lower. Watch out for him. He's knocking on the door as well. I love your first round picks. Both of us are on Svensson, and I like Henley to come out of the gate hot at 40-1 as well. Two guys that I'm definitely playing for first round leaders.
Yeah, I saw Wallace you had for 110 and Hizatsun at 100-1 as well for first round leaders. I will add them as well, Cam, and put, because I love triple digit first round leaders. I mean, why? I mean, I love.
You can't say no to anything, Carver.
And remember this too, guys. If you're in pools or anything else, West Coast is over. They've been teeing 9:30 East Coast. This is 6:45 a.m. East tomorrow morning is when they're going to have the ball in the air. So make sure you have all your action in tonight. You don't have that little buffer zone, Cam, in the morning when you wake up before these guys get it going. We will do a little bit more later. It is Golf Wednesday with the Cognizant with Keith Stewart. But Lion's Share next. Coach Young, Coast to Coast next.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The first unanimous number one team this season in the AP poll, which is the kiss of death.
True.
Like right now, given what we've seen winning on the road in college basketball, it's a kiss of death to walk in there as a unanimous number one team in the country. Everyone says you're awesome. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And you go up against a coach, a coach who has your number for the most part.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Guess what? Rock fight alert. Rock fight alert. Look at this Missouri-Tennessee score at the under 16. 1-0 Missouri. What is that?
Watched the entire Penguin game on Sunday. Been watching a lot of their games. I feel like we're seeing the end of the empire. There's talk of them maybe trading some big names.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
And Tibbs can find a way to get the Knicks rolling again as everybody comes back, folks. They are going to shoot up the Eastern Conference standings. They're at 33 wins. I think the Knicks have a chance to maybe, folks, ready? You think I'm crazy? They could get all the way to 2. It is not out of the question.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points
as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. BetMGM is doing it again. They are giving away free money. How about betting $5 and getting $150 instantly? Are you kidding me? What do you got to do? How about downloading the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $5 into your newly created account. This is for new customers. Place a wager in the amount of at least $5 at standard odds price. Once you have placed a bet, you will receive $150 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. You also got to use bonus code SG150. That is SG150. BetMGM, giving away free money. Got to go and get involved. We love it on Coast to Coast. We also love The Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. And it is time for that with Coach James Young every day here on C2C. Coach, good to see you as always. Very big slate tonight. We got college, we got NBA. You got some NBA plays. It's kind of a light night, only 6 games. There's actually 1 or 2 college things I want to bring up with you first. Mm-hmm. Number 1, that Kentucky-Mississippi State game last night was outstanding. And we spent some time yesterday, me and Joe, we do another thing. Like, I love, Coach, I'm a very big believer in that, quote-unquote system play with the unranked team being favored over the ranked team at home. It's, over the last 5 years, it's like 54%, whatever, which isn't enormous, but more often than not, it's a solid play to go with. But I just wasn't feeling it last night for really the first time all year with Mississippi State in that spot against Kentucky. And it was a hell of a game, Coach. It was a hell of a finish, too, with both teams making ridiculous shots at the end and Kentucky being lucky enough to make the last one.
It's crazy, Carver High. And I was the same way. I think I talked about on the network yesterday. I love Kentucky plus the points because the mindset is you have to start playing your best basketball, right? And here's the thing with Kentucky. They have the deepest guard play in the country. I'm not saying the best. I'm saying the deepest. How about the fact that last game Edwards went for 28 points? Well, he only gave you 2 last night, But then you can turn around and you can get Shepard to give you 32 when Dillingham was off. And Reeves gives you 21. So what they have is they have guys that can make shots. And when you have guys that can make shots, they can turn games over like this because of their shot ability and shot creation. I'm going to say this, folks. I think, listen, they're young. And look, they could turn around. They could do exactly what they did after they beat Alabama, which is lose to LSU, right? They could turn and lose the next game. But you got to think, with those guards and the way the game slows down and everybody's scouted out, Carver High, and you have to be able to have guys that can make shots and create shots. Kentucky's got to be someone you think about, not as a sleeper, because you can never call Kentucky a sleeper, but as a value play to make the Final Four, the national championship. They may be someone to look at. The problem is as they start to play better, Carver High, those numbers keep getting lower, lower, and lower.
Yeah, I mean, BetMGM, Coach, has them at 22-1 right now to win the entire thing. That was in the 30s,
yesterday.
2 weeks ago, somewhere around there. Even yesterday, like you're saying, before they won that game. They play no D whatsoever. But it just seems like a fun ticket to have because they have the talent and the offensive capability. And if they got the right draw, which is always so important, you can match these teams up all you want. about who you want to pick to win the national championship. If they get put in the wrong region or they get put against the wrong 8 or the wrong 5 or the wrong whatever, they're going to go home. It's a fun team to have a ticket at 20-1 or longer on, and that would be Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing you mentioned, Carl, and it makes a lot of sense, is it does have to do with draws. You know, as a coach, we always just say styles make fights, right? Certain styles match up against certain styles better than others. So if you have a team that has not athletic guard play, like, let's put it this way, like a team like Purdue, they don't want to see Kentucky in a tournament because they don't have the guards that can match up with Kentucky's guards, and then they'll get you in a track meet and Zach Edey can't get up the floor, right? So you have to look at styles make fights. You're right. It's a great ticket to have, right, on Kentucky. But when a tournament comes, you will see their odds go south or north, depending on what region they're in and what's their pathway to get to a Final Four.
No doubt. One other thing, Coach, here before we get to the NBA for tonight. The Big East, it's a fun conference. It's a good conference. They've been very well represented in the tournament the last few years. Right now, though, I mean, they could get as many as 6 teams in, but they really only have 3 locks. You have multiple teams that have a lot of work to do in that conference, and tonight is a very big night in that conference. You have Providence going to Marquette, who they beat earlier this year at home, and that's a big number, by the way. That's a huge game for Providence. You have St. John's and Butler, which you can make the argument the loser is going to be in a lot of trouble in that game, and Seton Hall going to Creighton, who probably has the best case out of all these not locked-in Big East teams, but could help themselves a lot out in Omaha tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. If you really look at it, folks, St. John's and Butler, let's call it what it is. It's an elimination game. Loser this game, they're not getting a bid. Because both of those teams, if it's St. John's, they're going to be 2 games under 500. If it's Butler, they're 4 games under. They're not getting in either way. Now, Providence is an intriguing case. They've played well. I think Marquette bounces back. But this Seton Hall-Creighton game, along with Providence and Marquette, I will say this, especially Seton Hall. If Seton Hall wins tonight on the road, and remember, folks, that first game was a 97-94 triple overtime game. I was at the Rock, questionable calls. You figure this, they got at UConn, at Villanova, at home versus DePaul. Home DePaul. If Seton Hall wins tonight at Creighton, I think their bid is locked. I think they got their bid is locked in. Now, another team to watch that isn't played tonight that looked good last night, is Villanova starting to turn at Carver High. They're starting to play better. And to me, out of everything I've seen, to me, Justin Moore is starting to look like Justin Moore. Double figures in 3 of his last 4 games. Remember, folks, he was the best player of Villanova when he ruptured his Achilles in that Elite 8 game versus, I think it was Houston. And honestly, Carver, if he didn't get hurt, they may have won the national championship that year. Yeah. That's how good Villanova is. It takes time. Justin Moore has looked really, really good. Villanova could be one of those teams that could be punching a ticket to the NCAA tournament, provided that they finish strong down the stretch as well.
All right, Coach, let's get to it. The lion's share here, your NBA picks for tonight. Let's start in Indiana, where the Pelicans are coming off hammering the Knicks last night. They have a back-to-back. Pacers are fresh after playing. They had a night off after a back-to-back of their own. -6 now for the 6.5, excuse me, Coach, up to the second. -6.5 at BetMGM, 237.5. Pelicans have a lot of guys questionable. Zion, Ingram, on and on and on. What do you think here?
Well, to me, this is a spot where you could see a New Orleans team, 1, rest some of their guys, right? 2, Indiana, should obviously try to push the pace. And to me, with that, I do like the Pacers minus points. I would expect a lot of these guys to possibly be out. I know it's really tight in the Western Conference, but I do think those guys will be out. Some of them, Pacers will get that game up and running, get it up and over. Give me the Pacers minus the points.
The Cavs, off of a ridiculous win against the Mavericks last night, game of the night, the Strus half-court shot ends up winning it for them. Now they go to Chicago, where the Bulls lost at home to the Pistons last night. Cavs -5.5 here.
I don't know why anybody would touch Chicago at this point. I just think this team is they're just not good. And I continue to tell people, I don't know what the hell is going on with that franchise, but they've lost 3 out of 4 games. And then you look at a team like Cleveland, who's trying to jockey for position. They get momentum. I think this team of Chicago is going nowhere. I'm going to go ahead and take the road favorite. Give me the Cavs minus the points.
Kings are in Denver tonight against the Nuggets. We're going player prop here. Reggie Jackson in the mix.
Reggie. What does Reggie like to do? Reggie likes to shoot. How about this, folks? 8 out of 14 over his points, rebounds, and assists the last 14 games, right? 5 out of 6 versus the Kings. Styles make fights. Fox, not a strong defender. Whiter, not a strong defender. Malik Monk, don't play no defense. So to me, that's a low-hanging fruity. This guy can get busy. Reggie Jackson over 13.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And Carver High, it's even money.
We love that, Coach. We love even money. And finally, Lakers and the Clippers tonight in L.A. at the Crypto. It is a Clipper home game. Could be the last one ever with them as the home team in that building before moving to the new place next year. How about a little LeBron getting on highlight?
I'm putting on the crown. By the way, LeBron, do me a favor. Real quick. Stop talking about your son and about being better players in the NBA and then turn around saying you're putting too much pressure on the kid. That being said, all hail to the king. Over 1.5 made threes. Folks, minus 125. He's hit this in 13 out of 14 games, 5 out of 6. They're going to let him shoot. He knocks down 2. LeBron, over 1.5 made threes tonight.
And I think the Lakers win tonight, Coach, outright against the Clippers in that game. Coach James Young, the Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. We're back on the grid right after this.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry, storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight
you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on Sports Grid and Sports Grid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. We have Davis Maddock with us every day on C2C. Of course, Fantasy Sports Today, Saturday mornings here on the grid. And Davis, I gave you the assignment yesterday. I love it. You went right at it. Get me some live picks for this week. See, Davis gets jealous because he knows that I always talk about Golf Wednesdays on C2C, and we do picks with Cam Stewart, we do picks with Keith Stewart, we have all this going on. So Davis is like, I got to get in the mix here. I mean, I'm talking combine, I'm giving you NBA stuff. I need to get my golf fix when you're doing these Golf Wednesdays on Coast to Coast. But Davis has to take it a notch further. See, he's got to go to not just the PGA Tour, but all the other tours around the world. I got him in the mix with the Liv, who's over in Saudi Arabia this weekend. Brooks going for the hat trick. He's actually won at this place the last 2 years, the first 2 years of the Live Tour, both times in a playoff, by the way. Before I ask you your pick on this, and I know you've been a golf guy as long as me, so you'll be in this. Are you into Anthony Kim playing at Live this week at all, who hasn't played in 12 years, and he's making his big comeback on the Live Tour this weekend?
So Greg Norman said this morning, doing some media availability over there, he said something that I thought was so interesting, which is he said, you know, getting AK back, this is what the Live Tour is all about. And I think the way that he meant it, was, you know, we're all about second chances. We're all about, yada, yada. Like, we want everyone to play 54 holes. Like, just like, they want as many of the eyes as possible. And the way I took it is, yeah, it is what they're all about. It's all about being a circus. It doesn't matter. No one cares about who's hitting what golf shot. We just want to watch, we want to watch these guys play. It's more of a morbid curiosity. Like, what is Anthony Kim going to even look like after not having played professional golf? Like, who knows what his training regimen has been like? It sounds to me like what happened is basically Liv just paid off this insurance thing that he took out, which, like, I guess good for them. Like, honestly, Carver, this might be one of the few weeks they actually do get me to tune in. I might just be in this week on the, because I want to see, like, what does this guy even look like?
And, of course, the week, you know what I don't like is they did this the week they're in Saudi Arabia where they're teeing off at like 3:30 in the morning, East Coast time. And I don't know when he's playing, but maybe he's in the back end on Friday morning or Saturday morning so that we can at least get a look at him early on and see. Who do you like? You have two picks for the Live this week over there in Jeddah.
I got two picks, so we are going to go with Carlos Ortiz, who actually, before he left to the Live Tour, I was like betting this guy all the time. I was feeling really good about him. He actually has 2 wins already in the last year. He won a Mexican Tour event, and he just won the Oman International Series Asian Tour event. Remember that these are the events that basically the Live guys are allowed to play. Now, it's a little bit tricky because we don't have as good of strokes gain stats for these guys playing these Live events because they don't get it tracked the right way. But best I can tell, he's basically playing about as good as he was before he left the Live Tour. So Carlos Ortiz is just a guy that I am wanting to back quite a bit. And then Dean Burmeister, he has got 2 wins on the European Tour before he bailed, before he said, you know what, it's Live all the way. He won the South African Championship and the Joe Berg Open. He actually had pretty good results on the Live last year as well, a couple of T3s. And just honestly, like, if we're doing these Live things here on the program, we get Didi Boy at like 33, 35, 40 to 1 most of the time. I'm probably just going to take him. I think those are good prices for him in these fields.
They are. And look, these fields, I was saying to Cam earlier, there's some weeks, like you match this field up this week to like what the PGA rolled out in Mexico last week. Like, it's not even comparable. Like, they've built up a really decent amount of names and golfers now, and not just old guys either. They have some very good young players, that's for sure. All right, for the Cognizant, formerly the Honda at PGA National, you're going down the board for this, which I always love.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got to go down the board a little bit. Adam Schenk is one of my one of my favorite guys to bet on in general. He has not gotten to the level that I thought his profile would get to kind of at the beginning of his career, but he is one of these guys who just, Carver, it's just always consistent. Like every week, I know exactly what it's going to be. He's going to gain a ton of strokes off the tee. He's going to gain a ton of strokes with the irons. He's going to lose them with the wedges. He's going to lose them with the putter. I like this course, though. In general, I like when they get to this Florida swing, because some of the guys do not know how to handle the water. They do not play that risk reward appropriately. So I like going down the board. And I mean, we did just talk about this on Monday as well. Like going down the board for the golf this year has been so strong. So I'm starting out my card with Adam Schenk. To be honest though, I don't love this. I don't love betting this. I don't love any tournament where, Cam Young is 22-1, where Russell Henley is 25-1. Like that's probably just not going to be one that I'm betting a ton of.
The DP World Tour is in South Africa this week. Of course, after your triumphant win in Kenya a week ago, what do you have for me in South Africa, Davis?
All right, I don't have as high of a conviction play as I did last week. I thought Van Driel was really, really strong. There's a guy who's right near the top of the board who I like. Something I do like about betting the European Tour is you don't get events where they're like 8-1, 10-1, 12-1 favorites. It's all like 18-1 or deeper. We are going with the Spaniard Adrian Otaegui this week, just one of those guys who plays very well. T4 last week, just like your classic European Tour grinder. He's going to win, once every other year. He's going to disperse in a bunch of T5s in there. One of the better putters actually on the European Tour. So Adrian Otaegui, you can get him on BetMGM at 33-1 for the tournament there in South Africa this week.
That's what I like, Davis. I'm surprised, and you left me out to dry with the LPGA Tour, but that's okay. I'm going to give you the pass this week on the LPGA Tour. I got no plays for the LPGA. They're still out. I believe they're still in Asia, wherever they are out there. So we'll leave them alone this week. All right. What do you like in the NBA tonight? It's a weird night in this aspect. We have a lot of teams playing a back-to-back. We have a lot of teams that we don't know yet. Still a few hours to tip who's going to be in there. Pelicans are interesting because they won last night. This could be one of those, as we always love to call it, scheduled nights off for New Orleans, depending on how many they want to sit, Ingram, Zion, etc. You have the Mavericks after a crushing loss in Toronto, but it's Luka's birthday today, so Luka might carry the mail by himself with like a 50 spot. He had 45 last night. Where are you looking for the NBA?
Man, my favorite play tonight is going to be the Clippers -3.5. I also like the over in that game. We got no Paul George tonight. I actually weirdly think, obviously that's not better for them, but they're just going to slip Amir Coffey in there. That definitely does make me like the over. Coffey's not near as good of a defender as George, but maybe more importantly, it's going to mean that Kawhi has more responsibility on offense, so he's going to be a little bit less locked in on defense, just have to expend a little bit more of that energy. But I sort of feel like the Lakers are getting it done via smoke and mirrors right now. They are up to 31-28, but they've been winning some of these real close. They got smoked by the Suns. They got smoked by the Warriors. They barely got a win against the Spurs. They still don't have Jared Vanderbilt. They still don't have Christian Wood. So their rotation is getting pretty thin, a lot of Rui Hachimura in there. Although Dinwiddie has been, I think, a real upgrade for them. So I like that spot. And, come on, I always like the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets are in the midst of a really important run right here. They've got like 5 important games for the standings in a row, concluding with the Boston Celtics on Thursday, I think. So there's a pretty important run that they're going right here. And my guess, Carver, they're going to super go for it like the next 2 weeks to figure out if they can get the 1 seed or not. And if they just, they drop a bad game here, drop a bad game there, I think we're going to see a lot of, and they're just going to be like, we'll take the 5 seed. We don't care.
Yeah, they're one of those teams. But listen, they won last year. They know what the deal is. I don't think it matters to them. And think about who the 1s and the 2s potentially are going to be, Davis. Like, you think Denver's going to be worried about going to OKC or going to Minnesota or going to even the Clippers? I don't think that would scare them at all. It's not like you have the Lakers stacked or Phoenix stacked up at the top. I think Denver knows that they can go on the road and win in any of those places, and that's why they ain't as scared if that does happen. Yesterday, as you were leaving, I told you that Ohtani homered in his final at-bat, his first game as a Dodger. And then Yamamoto today, and this stuff's going to get scary. And I think I told you, me and Gabe were talking how these Dodger prices on a daily basis once the season starts are going to be probably ridiculous and unplayable. Yamamoto struck out 3 of the 6 batters that he faced. He threw 19 pitches, 16 for strikes. So quite the debut for Yamamoto as well, Davis, out there at Dodger camp.
Yeah, so he struck out Marcus Semien, Nate Lowe, and Leody Taveras. And the Taveras one in particular, I was like, these guys are not going to have a chance. So obviously he threw 19 pitches. I'm not trying to draw any advanced conclusions. What I would say was my immediate concern was that he just was going to he's only 5'11". So that's really small for a Major League Baseball starting pitcher. It's kind of like how we talk about quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, J.J. McCarthy right now, and the dude weighs about 187 pounds. It is harder to generate the necessary force and velocity if you are a smaller guy. I obviously had not watched him pitch in a live game up until this point. He's got, I'm not a scout, so I don't know how to all the things, but just the way he delivers the ball, it's like he's springing off the mound kind of. It's very, very impressive. And if that is the product that they get, if Yamamoto is an NL Cy Young candidate, not even saying he has to win, if he's one of the 5 best pitchers in the National League and they have Ohtani and they get, anything out of Glasnow, if Buehler comes back, if Kershaw is very good, how are teams going to, they're going to be minus 380 every single game.
They are. It's going to be very tough to play them, that's for sure. I got a minute left. In today's episode of As the Blake Snell saga turns and Montgomery, It is sick that these guys aren't signed yet. So today's story is that Snell's willing to sign a short-term deal, kind of like what Bellinger did with opt-outs and maybe just go 1 year somewhere and do this all again next year. He just picked getting a team already, Dave, because now, it's different. He's a starting pitcher. You're ramping him up, doing all that. Anybody who signs him now is even going to be ready for opening day at this point.
It is completely brutal, and it's so bad for baseball, in my opinion. Baseball is kind of already trailing behind. It's definitely trailing behind the NFL. I think it's even trailing to the NBA at this point outside of the local markets. And part of the thing that you need to do for that is you gotta have people locked in. I talked about this with Scotty on Mondays. I want hot stove to be a thing. I want to care. People cared about the Ohtani deal, but if nothing gets done, if all you have is Snell and Montgomery doing Zoom calls with these teams, why would anyone care? Get it all done in a week period,
Awful. It really is. Just ended already. Somebody signed these guys. Chapman, too. He's still sitting out there. Davis, great job. Davis Maddock, of course, be back with us tomorrow and Saturday morning, Spanish Sports Day. Coach, we're back right after this.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Like the Minnesota Wild were down by 2 goals today. They were down by 3 goals, actually, today at one point. And they came back and won. Like teams like, the Edmonton Oilers and the Coyote game went back and forth. The NHL really, you could argue, really is the best sport for in-game betting, where you can pull the trigger on both teams.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
The Lakers lose by double digits last night on the road in Phoenix against the Suns. The Suns get their first victory following the All-Star break, winning by 10 in covering.
Anthony Davis played 42 minutes in that game. LeBron James played 37 minutes in a loss. This is the same thing. It's like repeating this over and over and over. Sure, do you want to win these basketball games? Yes, but you sort of say to yourself, all right, at what cost do we have?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. It is time for this day in Carver High history. Here we go. 1959, the Chicago Cardinals trade running back Ollie Matson to the Rams for an unprecedented 9 players. Are you kidding me? 1966, Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale begin a joint holdout against the LA Dodgers. They wanted more money. Who doesn't? 1967, Wilt Chamberlain sets an NBA record when he sinks his 35th consecutive field goal. He went 11 for 11 and 18 for 18 in the previous 2 games. Wow. How about that? 1971, Jack Nicklaus leads wire to wire to win the PGA Championship for his 2nd career Grand Slam. 1986, Peter Ueberroth suspends 7 baseball players for 1 year after they admitted in Curtis Strong's trial in September that they used drugs. That's a no-no. 1988, Pat Verbeek becomes the first New Jersey Devil to score 4 goals in an NHL game. 1998, Mark Messier of the Vancouver Canucks. It's still absolutely ridiculous that Mark Messier played for the Vancouver Canucks. He's the 4th NHLer to get 1,600 career points. And in 2012, Matt Kenseth leads the final 34 laps to win the Daytona 500 after the rain-affected race was stopped for 2 hours due to fuel being on the track. I'm pretty sure that's the Daytona 500 that ended at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like these poor people at the Daytona Raceway sat there for at least 17 hours waiting for that race to end. And hopefully they kept the beer open the entire time for them. They didn't turn it off after 9 or 10 hours with people getting out of control. Hopefully they let people stay and enjoy themselves that night. But Kenseth did win. All right, we'll come back. We have one more hour to go. We got to get through tonight's college basketball. We got Keith Stewart to finish off Golf Wednesdays. We got hockey that we got to get to as well. Ferrall Coast to Coast. Back after this.